Hi everyone. Today we're going to talk a little bit about culture. And for a sociologist, really, culture is the foundation of all of the research that we do. It doesn't matter what the specific research project is about. Culture and culture studies really form the foundation for how sociologists view the world, how we view different groups that have to live together or come into conflict with each other. And so we use culture every day, and realistically, every single person is always framing the world in terms of the cultural norms and values of the groups that they belong to. Defining culture, we need to talk about ideas such as shared values, which we call ideals. We have to talk about beliefs that help to strengthen those shared values that we have. We also need to include norms and rules that help to maintain our shared values, and language, which is how we teach all of those values. And remember that language also includes symbols, right? Language isn't always verbal, it is also nonverbal. So those symbols that help us to understand and transmit our culture. Along with that come art, artifacts, our collective ideas about each other, our memories. And so from a sociological point of view, we use culture to frame the world around us. So when we interact with others who share the same culture that we do, we are probably inadvertently, without realizing it, reinforcing our internal cultural values. And sociologists look at all of those things, values, beliefs, art, artifacts, our collective identity, memories, etc., to see if we can figure out the patterns that would help us to identify the aspects of our culture. Culture happens because we are social creatures. We have spent millions of years learning how to work together, learning how to live together. Some of those periods in time have been easier for us to learn how to live together to survive, while others have been much more challenging. As we know by now, human behavior, everything we do, with few exceptions, is learned. As an example, if we look at the ritual of marriage around the world, we see that there are certain expectations involved in what it means to be married. In the United States, being married might be defined very, very differently than other cultures or countries around the world. And so by looking at these traditions or behaviors, we can see that culture is different from group to group, country to country, state to state, even here in the United States. Understanding what those cultural expectations are helps us to minimize the stress that we have as a group, and it also helps to increase the group's stability. So we can't really overestimate the importance of culture. It's always there for us, sort of in the background, functioning for us, and it helps us to frame the world in which we live. So culture is really essential to understand, and if we don't understand cultural matters, it may show us to be ignorant to the groups around us. We might offend other people. We could end up getting hurt, and we could end up going to jail. So a few examples of that. Now remember, our framework in this course is always going to be the United States, and in the United States, this symbol means, are you okay? Or I'm okay. Or when someone asks you a question and you don't want to verbally answer, you might throw up the okay sign, meaning I'm all right. But in other countries, when you do this, it could be considered offensive. Likewise, with the fig in the United States, we commonly play this with our grandparents when we're 2 years old. It's the old got your nose symbol. But in other countries, this can be considered highly offensive, and it can be the prelude, perhaps, to arguing with somebody. In the Middle East, this is known as the Mutsa. In the United States, we might think about this in terms of talk to the hand. It's often accompanied with a head roll or a neck roll, and it is a symbol here in the United States today that means I don't want to deal with it, I don't want to deal with you, leave me alone. But this is a symbol that dates back to the ancient Byzantine era, and it was used then as a symbol to demean somebody or belittle somebody. When there was a battle with another village, you would bring the prisoners that you captured into the town square, usually chained together, and you would rub your feces on them, and this symbol originates from that gesture. Likewise, the corna, another old symbol, and we know it here in the United States as hook'em horns. Some of the colleges and universities around the country use it for football team identification. It's also that symbol that you oftentimes see at rock concerts, oftentimes accompanied by a few drinks of an alcoholic beverage. However, in other countries, this symbol, when you gesture it to someone else, can indicate that you think their spouse is cheating on them. The good luck symbol, crossing your fingers here in the United States, is a positive symbol. It means that you hope for something positive to happen. However, in Vietnam, this is a very insulting sign, and it can cause all kinds of trouble for you should you choose to use it. So you have to be very, very careful there. In Finland, it would be considered inappropriate to cross your arms when you were speaking to somebody. This is seen as a sign of arrogance. So you want to be careful that you're not doing that while you're in Finland. And in the Philippines, you never want to gesture to somebody to beckon them, the beckoning sign. This is considered to be so offensive in the Philippines that in areas it can land you in jail. So you want to be very careful about that. Finally, our last symbol. Around the world, the 3 fingers raised symbol, which was actually used by Katniss in the Hunger Games, is a real symbol of government opposition or being suppressed in a country. If you're ever traveling somewhere and you know that that country has the potential for instability government-wise, you want to be careful, because if you start seeing this symbol around you, it could mean that there's something brewing, and you want to be mindful of that. It is such a well-recognized symbol of opposition that it could be a cause for imprisonment if government officials suspect that there is some kind of action brewing in the background. All right, so as we can see, it's really important to understand culture. Symbols are a part of culture. Remember, symbols are symbolic of language, and language expresses how we feel. So that's a foundational aspect of understanding culture. All right, I hope you enjoyed this. We'll talk again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.